Well, all right, guys, it is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. So, going to get started on Steve's chassis. I'm going to be installing the new side engine mounts that are CPP brand, which I've used before and I liked. Hopefully, I got the correct ones. Getting ready to find out. All right, so I raised the engine up enough to get the washer ring out of the engine mount. So I went ahead and stuck the new engine mounts in, and I got them tightened up like they're supposed to be, where you remove the two rivets. Look how far forward it moved the engine. These aren't 3/4 inch forward mounts, but they're still forward. And the mess continues. So the Woody's mounts ended up being like actually a 1/2 inch forward and a 1/4 inch higher for their stock location that they sell. These are not the same mounts that they used to sell. The ones that they used to sell used to have triangle cutouts in them, and that's why I'd bought them before, because I thought they looked cool with the triangle cutout. These are just solid, which there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, they'd be a little stronger because they get more steel in them, but these do not fit for stock location at all. This still has the stock motor mounts in it. Right now it's sitting on them all the way to the engine's on them. So when you try to put those in there, they're actually 1/2 inch forward and a 1/4 inch up. So it was going to move the engine up and forward, and that's not what I ordered. I wanted stock location. So you're pretty much buyer beware when you go to get mounts. The heads, I actually took both sets of mounts that I had here. The first set that was 3/4 forward, and these Woody's stock location mounts, and I cut them apart. So I used the tubes, the tube right here on the top of the Woody's mounts. So those tubes are actually off the first set of mounts. This is what comes on the Woody's ones. They're oval slotted, which is not good, because the motor mounts are oval slotted. So then you have two oval slotted parts to go into each other, and you got a lot of this crap going on. So I just went ahead and put the tube in there, and then it's pretty much set. And I got the piece of tube all the way up on the slot of the motor mount. So, you know, if I bolted that down tight with them, you know, the slot being way down, the bolt being at the bottom of the slot, when all the way to the engine goes on it, when I take the front mounts off, it could, you know, change. So then the degrees of the tail shaft would be off. So to get a true stock location mount, I pretty much had to make it myself. So I had to put spacers down here off of the frame. I'm going to end up having to put a gusset right here. I don't like how there's this much tube hanging out here, so I'm going to put a little gusset here. I'm going to use the same thickness of steel and just put a little gusset there. I'm also going to put some plate on the back of it going to the tube to the back of the mount. So it should be good, but this is what is on those mounts, and that's supposed to be on there like that, and it's oval slotted. And when I was trying to bolt just this to the mount without the motor mount on it, you can't get the bolt through it, because I don't know if you can see that. This is thicker on this end than the other end. So the bolt wouldn't go through. I was going to have to slot that. So just not good quality stuff, man, I'm telling you. Pretty frustrating. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and try to weld this up a little bit, both of them. I've got them both mocked up. And then I need to pull the engine out. And then I need to drill the holes in the mounts, in the frame, and then bolt the mounts down, and then set the engine back in. So this has been a huge mess. I've got a half a day in this because I had to pretty much modify the mounts. If I'd have had some thick plate steel here, I would have just went ahead and built my own from scratch, like I did my 4-door and the hardtop. Because you can't buy anything that fits right, I'm telling you. Alright guys, so I was in there editing the video, and on the final video, the GoPro took a picture instead of taking a video. So there's a setting, and I must have fat fingered it, I don't know. But anyway, I got it. It basically just took a picture and I didn't know it, and I did a whole video, and I don't know, man. So anyway, I had to come back out here and unwrap the chassis again to video the finished product. But I got I got the engine mounts modified, and I got everything bolted on, and I done both sides. I even removed the front mounts, so it is solely on these side engine mounts now. So these are more safe than the old school front mounts. But anyway, those engine mounts, I did some measuring on each side when I had them back off there, side to side, and they're off a little bit from each other, so they're not perfectly mirror image mounts. So I ended up, and it could be, you know, the difference in the way the chassis is, you know, but there's going to be a variance. But I ended up having to put a washer under this one and not a washer here. And I had to put a washer on each end on this side just to get them square. But anyway, I'm going to go through and weld this whole front edge right here, put a nice little stitch around that, and that will let me go ahead and put a couple of nice bolts in here. So that'll kind of, it'll lock the washer edges down too, but you won't be able to see the washers, and it'll fill the space and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with them. They look kind of cool on there, but man, that was a heck of a mess. I got to tell you, you had to take 2 mounts and make one set that I was happy with. I'm not a big fan of having a slotted motor mount and a slotted, you know, both mounts. The rubber mount, this part, and the engine mount being both slotted. It's just, it's too much gap in there. So when you go, it'd be nice, you know, as you're putting your engine in, it's nice, you can get your bolt in there, but when you're revving up an engine or driving it or whatever, if that engine's moving around with them oval spots, you know, all that slack in there, the engine could shift to one side or the other. So I didn't feel comfortable with it. So I did the tubing on the top, and it's pretty much, I set it all where the slot, the bolt is on the high side of the slot, so it's all the way to the engine's down on it. I'm pretty happy with it, man. I think it's going to end up working out really, really nice. But I welded both sides, so it's done. So now there will be some cleanup to do. There's some spatter and that type of stuff, and but anyway, they're on there and welded. But I guess if it doesn't rain tomorrow, which it's supposed to, but if it doesn't, I'm going to go ahead and get the engine and trans out and break them apart, get them separated from each other. I'm going to go ahead and get the engine on an engine stand, and then I'm going to weld up these front mounts, or these side mounts. I'm going to weld the front of them to the chassis, and I guess at that point I can go in and start sanding this filler that I got on here, and then I can go ahead and primer the top of the chassis. So a little bit at a time, I guess. Thanks for watching.